T9C got the fucking juice.
Silver's the new gold.
It takes a shit scene.
T9C got the fucking juice.
Silver's the new gold.
It takes a shit scene.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to a late episode of the JT Sports Podcast, man. I didn't mean to get started so late. It's not my fault this time, man. We had a crazy thunderstorm going on. It's crazy living in Florida. Like, I love the weather. I love that it's always warm year-round, especially in the wintertime. Florida's probably the only state that during the months of December all the way up to March, you can still go to the beach and still enjoy yourself. But the weather here is very bipolar. It's like a couple hours ago, it was perfectly sunny outside. Then out of nowhere, it started raining, thundering, and messing with the Wi-Fi. So we couldn't go live at the time that we wanted to. But you know what they say? better late than never. And we got a lot of things to talk about, man. I got to give you guys some of my biggest reactions to week 1 of the NFL preseason. Ezekiel Elliott, just signed with the New England Patriots. So at least something good came out of this, because if we would have started at 5 o'clock, we would have been late on the news because we would have seen it, because I don't check my phone for updates when the show is live. But we're going to be talking about Ezekiel Elliott signing with the New England Patriots, what he's going to bring to Foxborough. Thoughts on Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson's rookie debuts. Malik Willis versus Will Levis. Who has the edge in the battle to be the future QB for the Tennessee Titans? Was Trey Lance set up to fail against Las Vegas? The Broncos' offensive struggles against Arizona, and my thoughts on Jordan Love's performance against the Cincinnati Bengals. Before we begin, if you haven't already, make sure that you leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We go live every day, Monday through Friday, around 5 p.m. Eastern time. Remember that the JT Sports Podcast is not just available on YouTube. You can find us on all podcasting platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. You can find the JT Sports Podcast. And the podcast has been going up as of late. I don't know what's going on, but the podcast numbers are looking really good right now. Get us to 100 5-star reviews on Apple. We are trying to get to 100 5-star reviews before the start of the upcoming NFL and college football seasons, man. If you want to support the pod, all you got to do is leave us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. We will greatly appreciate it. It only takes 15 seconds to do, and it's a free way to support the channel. So let's start off with this, right? Can Ezekiel Elliott revive his career in Foxborough, going from America's team to New England? He's coming off the worst season of his NFL career last year with the Dallas Cowboys, and he's going to Foxborough, most likely going to be RB2 behind Rhamondre Stevenson. Now, if you watch the Patriots' past preseason performance against the Houston Texans, this probably should come to no surprise to you, because the backup running backs that we saw against Houston were not that good. And they were flirting with signing Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, and they ultimately went with Ezekiel Elliott, giving him a 1-year deal worth $6 million. Now, what is Ezekiel Elliott going to bring to the New England Patriots? Well, I think he's going to be a really good short yardage back. He isn't the same running back that he was when he came into the league his rookie season and was an all-pro, but one thing about New England is that they get the most out of guys who you may feel are past their prime. You remember LeGarrette Blount? I don't think too many people expected LeGarrette Blount to be as good as what he was during his time in Foxborough, and I think that Ezekiel Elliott could have a similar role. Now, Ezekiel Elliott, I think he is still really good after contact. This is somebody that still you can use in goal line packages, short yardage situations. Obviously, he isn't going to have the same skill set that Rhamondre Stevenson has. Rhamondre Stevenson is really good in a passing game. But New England is going to have a good complementary back when they need to give Rhamondre a break. And one thing about New England that you have to remember is that they are a team that normally runs with a 2 running back rotation. They normally have their RB1, and then they have their RB2 who gets a good amount of carries. Last year, that was Damian Harris. So Ezekiel Elliott, he isn't going to come in and be asked to carry the load. All he's going to be asked is to get 8 to 9 carries a game and back up Rhamondre Stevenson. And I think he can be really good in this role. Bill O'Brien, I think that this offense is going to be really run heavy with him calling the plays. He called some really run heavy offenses when he was the head coach of the Houston Texans. And with this offensive line, I think that Ezekiel Elliott is going to be poised for success in Foxborough. Last season for the Dallas Cowboys, he had 876 rushing yards, 3.8 yards per attempt, but he did have 12 touchdowns. Now, Tony Pollard did emerge, and that was another reason for why the Dallas Cowboys decided to move on from Ezekiel Elliott. But I think that this is a really great opportunity for Ezekiel Elliott to get his career back in the right direction. You can say that he's washed up, but the Patriots just are one of those weird franchises like the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens that are able to get the most out of guys who may not have too much juice left in the tank. I think Ezekiel Elliott is going to be excited for this opportunity. Him and Mac Jones, prior to this signing taking place, went out for lunch or dinner, I believe. I saw a picture floating around of those two eating out somewhere. So the Patriots locker room is very happy with this move. Ezekiel Elliott, I think he's a great person to have in the locker room. He's somebody who normally is in pretty good shape the majority of the times. I don't think you're going to have to worry about the conditioning when it comes to him. And I wonder just how soon are we going to see Ezekiel Elliott suiting up for the New England Patriots? Is he going to play in their upcoming preseason game? Are we going to see him in their final preseason matchup? We don't know. But I do know that when the regular season rolls around, expect Ezekiel Elliott to have a little bit of an impact on this offense. He isn't just going to go up to Foxborough and be irrelevant. He is going to have a little bit of a role in this offense, being that guy who gets those 8-9 carries that give Ramondre Stevenson a break. Ezekiel Elliott, he's not the same player that he used to be when he first came into the league, but he still is somebody who can produce in this offense. I like this signing by the New England Patriots. I would have rather them sign Dalvin Cook, because Dalvin Cook is better than Ezekiel Elliott. Hell, I probably would have took Leonard Fournette over Zeke. But I think for what you signed Ezekiel Elliott to, only $6 million 1 year, this is a really good opportunity for both the New England Patriots and the Ezekiel Elliott. They both needed each other. Ezekiel Elliott needs another opportunity, and the opportunity that's going to give him a good chance to show that he still has what it takes to be a productive running back in the league. And the Patriots need a good backup behind Stevenson. So let me know your thoughts on this signing down in the comment section down below, and if you think that Ezekiel Elliott can resurrect his career with the New England Patriots. Bryce Young is a bust. After a disappointing debut, 4'6", 21 passing yards, people are already calling Bryce Young a bust, man. And listen, if you think that Bryce Young is a bust after watching him against the New York Jets in his first ever preseason game, I think you got to chill out, man. We already saw the trolls out there calling CJ Stroud a bust, and here they are coming from King Bryce. Let me tell you guys something. Bryce Young performed the way that I expected him to. He got the ball out fast. He made good decisions with the football, and I was really happy to see the poise that he displayed inside of the pocket. And he took some really big hits like, damn, bruh. Was that the Panthers' first string offensive line out there? I hope it wasn't. Because if that's what the Panthers' offensive line is going to look like this year, then yeah, Bryce Young may not last the whole entire season. But if we're going off a performance-based metric, and we're just looking at Bryce Young and purely how he just performed by himself in last week's preseason loss to the New York Jets, I think he did pretty well. This offensive line most definitely has to improve, and I believe that it will. This was a really good offensive line last year. But if you're saying that Bryce Young is a bust because he didn't have a lot of wow moments, I think you're tripping. Bryce Young isn't a quarterback who's going to come in and light the world on fire. He doesn't have the strongest arm. He isn't the greatest athlete. What separates Bryce Young apart from Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud and Will Levis is his ability to read, process, and dissect defenses. And we saw that on full display in his preseason debut against the Jets. The Jets defensive line is going to be absolutely outstanding this year. I don't know what the hell was going on with Frank Reich and his coaching staff when it came to their preparation for this game, but they just got outclassed in the trenches. And anytime you get outclassed up front, your quarterback isn't going to have a great performance in the preseason 9 times out of 10. But we've seen quarterbacks who had awful offensive line play, such as Trey Lance, struggle. Meanwhile, I think that Bryce Young thrived. He wasn't in the game for too long, and he didn't need to be in the game too long, because if he wasn't in the game for any longer, the New York Jets probably would have knocked his head off his shoulders, man. Like, the Panthers got to fix this damn offensive line. I'm really disappointed in the coaching staff. Don't be disappointed in Bryce Young. Be disappointed in Frank Wright and the Carolina Panthers for not having this offensive line up to par in this preseason game. You want to know the perfect way to ruin your franchise quarterback before we even start the regular season? Do what Carolina did and set Bryce Young to get knocked around. Yeah, we know he's small, and all he needs is time to throw the damn rock, and he's going to cook. Like, I was really disturbed with some of the big hits that Bryce Young was taking. As soon as he took that first sack, I was like, you got to pull him out. Pull him out. Pull him out, Frank Wright. Do not allow Bryce Young to sit back there and be a punching bag and a practice tool for Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald. Like, I could not believe how atrocious the Carolina Panthers offensive line was. And I hope to God that was not their first string offensive line. So listen, this is what I'm going to do with this performance. I'm going to take it, ball it up, throw it in the trash, and next week, we're going to reset. Bryce Young played really well, considering that this offensive line wasn't good. And I don't even know what you people were expecting. For people who are coming out tweeting that Bryce Young is a bust, what did he show in this performance that made you think he was a bust? Was it the fact that he didn't have any big throws downfield? He was just taking checkdowns? Because if you were expecting Bryce Young to hold the ball for a long time and try to get big plays, then you must not have watched a lot of film on Bryce Young when he was coming out of Alabama. He gets the ball out fast. He's not the biggest guy, so his body isn't going to be able to sustain a lot of hits. So therefore, why would he hold on to the ball too long? He got the ball out fast. He was really efficient. He did a really good job of going through his progressions. This is what Bryce Young is. He's cerebral. He is a ultra effective game manager. And with good protection, he can be even better. I don't think it's right to consider Bryce Young a bust after one preseason performance where he didn't play bad. He played better than CJ Stroud. I mean, like, why does everybody try to nitpick these rookie quarterbacks in their first preseason games? Like, there's nothing that can please any of you folks on Twitter, man. You Twitter coaches think y'all know it all. Oh, Bryce Young was too conservative. Fool, this is who Bryce Young is. He's going to get the ball out fast. He's not going to allow you to get big hits on him. That's one thing that Bryce Young is not going to allow you to do. He's going to make the fast reads. He's going to get the ball out fast. And he's going to make good decisions with the football. He was efficient. He was poised in the pocket. And despite the fact that he was taking all those big hits, he didn't fall apart like how most people were saying. I was hearing a lot of narratives being thrown out there that, man, Bryce Young takes one big hit from these 300-pounders and it's done for his career. Bryce Young was getting whacked out there, but he was getting back up and ready for the next play. I think Bryce Young's preseason debut was solid. I give it a B. I would have loved to see him out there for some more plays, but obviously with how that offensive line was playing, you have to get him out of there ASAP. And Frank Wright and this offensive line acknowledged that this wasn't the best performance for that unit, and they do know that they need to step up their play if they want Bryce Young to be their franchise quarterback for the next decade. But let's just chill out on calling Bryce Young a bust, bro. I'm so glad a lot of y'all are not coaches, because if y'all were coaches, y'all would be fired on the first day, because as soon as your rookie quarterback has one disappointing game, you're quick to bench him, or you're quick to say we need to find somebody else. It takes time. There are going to be some growing pains, but I didn't really see any growing pains out of Bryce Young in his debut. He played the way I expected him to play. What did you want him to do? You wanted him to run around like Anthony Richardson and get blown up? Like, this dude was getting whacked out there, man. Bryce Young, King Bryce, is going to have a really good career. If you're trying to judge him based off this lone performance, you got to give him more time. Some of y'all are just so quick to be the first person to say, oh yeah, like I told you he was a bust. I told you he was a bust. I told you he wasn't going to work out. I told you he wasn't going to last out. We live in a society today that everybody is just so quick to want to be the first person to say they were right about something. We need to chill out on these rookie quarterbacks, not just Bryce Young, but the CJ Strouds, the Will Levises of the world, and the Anthony Richardsons. They're not going to come out and go for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns and 3 drives of the preseason. You just want them to get their feet wet. You just want them to, kind of get a little bit comfortable with the speed of the NFL. And this is the preseason. This is pretty slow speed. It's only going to speed up once we get to the regular season. So this is a good chance for Bryce Young to take some big hits, even though you don't want him to take no big hits, but at least know that he can take a big hit and get up and get ready for the next play. I was impressed with his poise and his calmness and how cool he was in the pocket. You didn't see him getting under pressure and then him immediately bailing out of the pocket like you see most young rookie quarterbacks. Bryce Young is wise beyond his years. He's a rookie quarterback, but he's going to end up performing this season like he's a 5-6 year veteran. If you watched any of Bryce Young's film at Alabama, you wouldn't have been surprised with how he played in this game. He got the ball out quick. He was efficient, decisive, and made really smart decisions with the football. He didn't force any throws that weren't there to be made. Bryce Young's preseason debut went as expected, at least in my opinion. But to call Bryce Young a bust, or Bryce Young is going to be a bust in Carolina, I see the early signs. Let's cut the shit, man. Let's just cut it out. We need to stop trying to judge quarterbacks based on one preseason performance. I'm getting sick and tired of you people you see, this is the problem with social media. Social media gives everybody a voice, and some people don't deserve to have voices because some of their voices, to be honest with you, don't need to be heard because they have dumb opinions and dumb takes. This is a dumb take. Bryce Young's going to be a bust. I can see the early signs. What early signs do you see? He got no turnovers. He didn't make any mistakes, and he made good reads with the football. If anything, you question if this offensive line is going to be able to hold up throughout a 17-game regular season and keep him healthy. Because the way he was getting popped back there, they were throwing him around like he was a rag doll. After that second sack, I was like, bruh, he got to come out. Because if they let him in for another drive with how this offensive line is playing, we may not get to see Bryce Young for his rookie season this year. So let's stop trying to label Bryce Young a bust. He played how he was expected to, and he did really well. This is the Bryce Young experience, people. He isn't all about the big play. He's not big play or bust like Anthony Richardson is. This is somebody who takes a lot of preparation and a lot of time to make sure that he has a good understanding of what defenses are going to throw at him. Every throw that Bryce Young makes is calculated. I don't think that Bryce Young, this one lone preseason performance, is going to be a sign of what's to come in Carolina. He's not a check down machine, but what he is somebody that he's going to take what the defense gives him. If the defense gives him a 5-yard out, that's an easy completion and an easy 5-yard pickup. Guess what he's going to do? He's going to take it. He's programmed to see an open wide receiver and get the ball out to him fast. He's like a point guard playing quarterback. He's like a CP3 or a Steve Nash. He's a cerebral assassin when it comes to being able to attack defenses. That's what we saw in this game. We didn't see him hold the ball longer than what he needed to, like CJ Stroud. You saw what happened when CJ Stroud held the ball too long when he was trying to target Tank Dell on that corner route. What happened? He threw an interception. We didn't see those same mistakes with Bryce Young. Bryce Young looked poised out there. He looked confident. And even though he took some big hits, he got right back up and he wasn't fazed by it. That's what I wanted to see out of Bryce Young. I was impressed with how he handled those big hits. I was impressed with how cool, calm, and collected he was inside the pocket despite things collapsing around him. That's what separated him from all of the other quarterbacks coming out of this past year's draft. That's why he was number one. Let that have been CJ Stroud or Anthony Richardson, they probably would have had an interception and even a fumble or two. Bryce Young's preseason debut, I think, at least in my opinion, was a massive success. The Anthony Richardson roller coaster ride, oh my God, you Colts fans, you guys were in for a joyride when you were watching Anthony Richardson's preseason debut against the Bills, man. So, his first drive, he comes in and he throws a couple of quick passes, got some easy completions, and then as soon as things started to fall apart in the pocket, he throws a sidearm interception to a Buffalo Bills cornerback on the first possession. And then he goes to the sideline, and you're wondering to yourself, okay, he turns the football over his first possession of the preseason. How is he going to respond? And he came back the next drive, and he looked even better than what he did his first possession. And then on his last drive, he looked even better. And you see, with Anthony Richardson, you're looking for a gradual improvement. He made some really good throws like that drop touchdown by Alex Pierce. That was a fantastic ball by Anthony Richardson. And we saw a lot of the positives that many people had about Anthony Richardson when he was coming out. He was super athletic. I mean, this dude absolutely bodied a Buffalo Bills cornerback. I think, yeah, number 24. And Anthony Richardson on the read option play just absolutely ran that dude flat over. That was one of those moments when Anthony Richardson was like, man, I'm 6'4", 6'5", 255 pounds running 4'4". You can't stop me, boy. He little boyed that Buffalo Bills cornerback, man. And that's what I love to see out of Indianapolis. I want to see his athleticism and his rare size and speed utilized. Not just that we see Anthony Richardson throwing the football well, but he also ran the football pretty effectively. And I think that he was a lot better than what most people expected. 7 out of 12, 72 passing yards. If you can get over the interception that he threw on his first drive and act like it didn't happen, he had a really good performance. He was really good throwing the football in the short intermediate passing game. Now, a lot of his throws did come out to be a little bit high. They did come out with a lot of heat. But I think those are things that Anthony Richardson is going to get better with time. It seemed like when he came out for his first